It's time for the RPM Podcast, starring Eric Brennan.
I like lemon parties.
Sam Ballard Jr.
All right, that's it, young man. No Bible stories for you tonight.
Nick Rendo.
Yeah, I would rather have a bigger one.
Scott Riggleman.
That guy's trash, and I want him off our screen.
And Josh Matthews.
He doesn't need those doctors.
And here we are again, episode 128 of the RPM podcast. It is 8:25, March 13th, 2019, on a Wednesday night. Just want to say hey to you guys. Hey, Josh, how you been?
Incredibly nauseous, actually.
Really? That's your problem. And Tim, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. Ready to go.
All right, good. First, I want to start off by apologizing. We weren't able to do a broadcast last week or record an episode last week. Number one, because I had the flu, man. I had the flu real bad, and the flu was no joke. I probably lost 10 pounds in 3 days. It was brutal. I mean, I was one day I did take completely off and not go towing or anything, but I was towing a little bit, and I would go tow, and I would rush right back home and get right back on the couch, and I wasn't able to go, and unfortunately Eric Brennan had to go to Arizona for some business down there, so he wasn't able to fill in for us or help us out with that one either.
I think he was lying.
So unfortunately we had to skip. So
do you guys think that Eric was lying about work out there and just went to the Phoenix race?
He went last year, right?
He's gone a few times.
Yeah. He has family in Arizona. His one nephew that is sick, I believe, lives in Arizona. So
and he did see them.
What's that?
He did see his nephew while he was out there.
Yeah, so he usually tries to kill two birds with one stone. When the Arizona race is in town in Arizona, he goes down there, he goes to the race. But I didn't see him post anything about him being at the race, and he never said he was. But I know he did go a couple of years ago. And the one time he took like a date he met on like Craigslist or something like that. Remember that? He talked about that on the episode and everything that.
Wait, was that
remember that, Josh?
That wasn't the Dunkin' Donuts waitress, was it? Or...
I don't know. He met somebody. He had a spare ticket to go to the Arizona race, and he put something on like Craigslist or I don't know, Tinder or one of those date sites, and he took some girl that had never been to the race before, which is kind of cool, because you're killing two birds with one stone. You're going out on a date, plus you're bringing someone new to the races, and we all need to do that every once in a while. That's what keeps the sport growing. It
just popped in there.
So that was a good little story. We didn't hear much from Eric this week, but I hope all is well with Eric. We just want to do a little house cleaning too. 2 weeks ago on the episode, one of the topics we were talking about, and we got quite a bit of response, was, we talked a little bit about where people go after the races, and not only after the races, but where they go before the races and what some of their traditions are. One of my traditions is that we stop at Wawa because I always get 2 bags of ice to fill the cooler up. I do fill the truck that we tow the race car with. I run a mixed gas in my factory stock. I just put half super Wawa, and then I get half race gas when I get to the track. I do a 50-50 mix. So, I got a 5-gallon jug, so I'll put 2.5 gallons of Wawa super, and then when I get to the track, I put 2.5 gallons of the race gas. So that's one of my little traditions. We have to stop at Wawa on the way to the track to get supplies for the track that day.
That and a bunch
Tim
of
didn't
Gatorade.
Yeah. Hey, good news on my side with the Gator thing. When I had the surgery, I had to give up sugar, so I haven't been able to drink Gatorade. Before I met with a nutritionist and had a nutritionist, I used to think Gatorade was good for you. You know what I'm saying? I thought I was on a diet when I drank Gatorade instead of soda. Yeah. Little did I know Gatorade's filled with sugar. But Gatorade just came out with Gatorade Zero with zero sugar in it. Man, it's good. So I'm back on the Gatorade thing. So I'm drinking the Gatorade Zero.
Awesome.
And to me, it tastes just like the regular Gatorade. So if anybody's looking to do some type of weight loss thing, one of the things you should cut out is sugar and start drinking the Gatorade Zero. It's really good.
And for people that go to Wawa that aren't trying to cut out sugar, they do have a Shamrock Shake there now, too.
Yeah, I did see that. They got like an imitation Shamrock Shake. Did you try one yet?
No, it's supposed to be really good, though, from what I've heard. Scooter had one.
Yeah, talking about the sugar thing, the Shamrock Shake thing. Yeah, so people know, like, Shamrock Shakes have always been big in my family. When me and Tim were kids, before the internet and all this stuff, my mom used to call around on the phone looking for Shamrock Shakes. She used to call the McDonald's in the area because back then not every McDonald's had Shamrock Shakes. So she would call Hal. She would call the one in Neptune. She would call Brick. We'd find out where they were selling the Shamrock Shake. We'd all load up in the car and we'd all go get Shamrock Shakes like that for dinner and stuff like that. So to keep with the family tradition, Shamrock Shakes are back out. So I was actually going to stop and get one and see if I can drink it. I said, well, before I do that, let me look. I got like this app on my phone. I can look at like nutrition facts and stuff on food. And I looked up the Shamrock Shake and it had 92 grams of sugar. My limit's like 15 grams of sugar. So it was way over my limit. So there was no way I could have did a Shamrock Shake.
Scott's allowed like 2 sips.
Yeah. Unless I wanted to pay $5 for a shake, take 2 sips of it and throw it away, you know. But yeah, then when I did come home, I saw on a commercial for Wawa, they do have their own Shamrock Shake now. So we're well enough. Just to let people know, if we do touch base on a topic and you like what we're talking about and you want to add something to it, you can message me or my brother or Josh or even the RPM podcast on Facebook. Another thing you can do too is on YouTube when you watch our videos, if you leave a comment, leave a comment in the comment section, and we look at it, and we can answer you on there, and we can even bring it up on the podcast itself. But Tim did have a few people calling and let them know what their traditions are for on their stopping on the way to the track. Tim, you want to touch base on that now?
Yeah, I actually wrote them down. Some of these were via phone call. Some of them were Facebook Messenger. Some I didn't put anybody's name because if it wasn't, I didn't know if they wanted their names on there. But one was Collingswood Auction subs and pickles. Have to stop for. Back in the day, had to stop for the subs.
Yeah, I want to touch base on that real quick too, because my number one, the Collingswood Auction does have the best subs and pickles. I mean, I know the sub shop has changed hands a few times with ownerships, but it seems to be pretty the same sandwich still, and it's always a great value to it. It's inexpensive to stop there and get a sub and a pickle. I do have a couple funny stories about that, like. Our father, mine and Tim's father, Sam, he used to have Sam's Racing Collectibles in Collingswood Auction. And when I wasn't racing on a Saturday night, I went down there and sat with Dad at the store. And it was like, I don't know, 8 o'clock. I think they closed at 9. I was helping them like shut the store down and everything. And here comes Bobby Howard Sr. walking in the auction wearing his fire suit. And my dad's like, what's the matter, Big Bobby? You didn't qualify? Something happened to the car? He's like, no, I won the heat race. We're just waiting for features. I came down here to get a sub and a pickle. So, like, he would actually leave the racetrack after qualifying, drive down to Collingswood Auction to get a sub and a pickle, and then go back to the racetrack.
I was going to say, I'm going to take one guess at who that might have been. I'm just going to say it was probably Hannah.
No, well, she's a pickle lover. She loves pickles. I'm gonna say Kevin Ayers, because I know Kevin Ayers passes the racetrack on the way to the Wall Stadium, and he grew up on Collingswood Auction subs because he lives right up 34 from there.
Nice. What's the next one on your list there, Tim?
Here's one for Scott. Dougal's Fried Chicken.
That's right. That's where I used to work. A lot of people don't know that Dougal's was a pizza place in Farmingdale. I started working there when I was 14 years old, and I worked there until I was about 24, 25. And then Bill McGacken, who was the owner of it, he finally sold the establishment. We sold pizza subs and chicken, and we used to get a lot. We're right on Main Street in Farmingdale, and we used to get a lot of people to stop on the way to the racetrack. We even sponsored a couple guys. We sponsored Brian Sisko. We would give him a couple subs because he would pass right through town. On his way to the track, we would give him a couple of subs every Saturday, and a lot of people used to stop in there on their way to the racetrack.
That's really
cool. Here's one that I really didn't think of, but I guess people would go to the shore before they would come to races. Someone said they would go every Saturday and go to Spike's for lobster bisque. Spike's is that little fish market going to
right.
the place.
Yeah,
that was I'd never even thought of that. And then someone else said they would go for breakfast to Mariner's Cove and get omelets. I believe that's in Brielle.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that one.
And then shrimp box for lunch, and then the racetrack. That's in Point Pleasant.
Yeah, I've been to the shrimp box before. Me and Nancy went to the shrimp box. That's across the little waterway from the lobster shanty. That's pretty good, the shrimp box.
And then I got two for after that real quick. Someone said they used to go to the Squan Tavern for pizza. And then the other one was after East Windsor Speedway, they used to go to Mom's Peppermill restaurant, which is still there, but it's closed down.
So the building still stands. It's just not.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's all I got.
It sounds like a good place to go. I'm trying after the races. When I first started with the factory stocks, Eric Graham and Mike Tash are still in the Legends. And we would meet at Applebee's in Howell. But then after that, I just started going to Houlihan's and Brick. That would be my
Okay.
after the race place for dinner.
It's funny that you mentioned Applebee's and Hal's because, like I said, me and Nancy had the camper over at Timberland Lake Campground on Saturday nights after the races. We try to shoot over there to the camper, and it's hard. I tell you, after 11 o'clock nowadays, it's hard to find a place that's serving food, you know? So one of the places do serve food late after the races is Applebee's in Hal. And we will, and when we leave the track, she'll call ahead and place an order. And then on the way to the campground, we'll stop in there real quick. Number one, there's a big parking lot behind it, so I can get in there with the truck and trailer, no problem.
Yep.
And she'll run in and grab food to go. You know, we already have it ordered. They got to wait for us at the bar. So Applebee's, you know, is a good place to stop after the races. And a lot of times they have half price appetizers too.
Yeah.
You know, it's crazy. It's crazy that you say that because even a lot of the diners aren't open 24 hours anymore.
Yeah, no, it's not like the old days. You can go
No.
get food anywhere at 2 o'clock in the morning. These places are closing soon. Then it wasn't Applebee's, but I think it was a Ruby Tuesdays in Hal. We tried to go there after the races, and you know we're calling them at 10:45. They're like, "Oh, we stopped serving food at 11." I'm like, "Well, it's 10:45." You know what I'm saying? And so then we went to Applebee's instead because they would serve us the food. They're like, "Well, we'll serve till 2 o'clock in the morning."
I believe that.
Sure enough, like the next week in the news, we see Ruby Tuesdays at Hal's closed.
Yeah, it's funny. Well, the same thing kind of with Houlihan's was, I mean, they serve food usually till midnight or so. The bar's open till 2. So, I mean, even, you know, if the mods were or the sportsmen were taking forever and, you know, the factories are going last as usual, we could get out of there when with the lights being shut off in the pits and still make it and get food. And I mean,
Right.
that's Brick. That was right near Tom's River. So when I was still at my parents', it was easy. And then, honestly, even after I moved down here, I mean, I had to take the car back to the farm anyway, so it wasn't
Right.
such a bad choice. I just wouldn't get home till, 4 a.m.
Another place good to stop. Me and Nancy would stop every once in a while if you're stopping at Houlihan's. Is like we would take 34 to Route 70, and then we would stop at the Brick Diner, you know, across the street from the Rainbow Diner. Because
Okay.
there again, they had a size parking lot. They were open late. They served food, and the food's really good there. So we would stop at the Brick Diner every once in a while too. I mean, everybody. It's so cool talking to people. Like I know the Osbornes, like Glenn Osborne, his family when his father Clint raced and Glenn raced when he was younger. They would all go to the Rainbow Diner because they lived off of Herbertsville Road, so they could, you know, leave the racetrack, go to Route 70, hit the Rainbow Diner, eat, and then shoot right back over to Herbertsville Road and go home. You know, so it's kind of cool how people have their reasons where they stop too. Like one of the things I look for a place to stop after the races is number one, parking. You know, I got to have room to park the truck in the trailer. Number two, if they're open late, and number three, you know, the food's got to be good. And you know, I try to make a racing connection. That's why me and Nancy been going to the Arc a lot. You know, with Tony Bartone owning the Arc. He races factory stocks with us, so we like going there late. And if we do get there late, he makes sure we get food because he was at the track with us too. So he's getting there at the same time, and he's hungry too. So we sit down and eat with the owner of the restaurant, so we know we're definitely getting food at the Arc after the races, you know.
Yeah, I will say I'm fairly lucky. My trailer is pretty small, and I can actually, if I can get a pull through spot, I'm just a hair over on either end.
Right.
So I can usually make that work, and it's not a big deal. So, but at the same time, there's been plenty of times where you can't find the pull through. So, and Houlihan's is in that big plaza there, so I can just go on, into another section. All those stores have been, they're closed for the night, so I can just steal a spot over there.
And in the summer, it is also fun stopping at like a shore thing too, because like when we used to race on Sundays with the enduro cars, me and Tim after the enduro race, me and Tim would and his girls and Nancy, we would go to the Circus Drive-in in Wall Township when that was still open. Unfortunately, it's closed now and knocked down. But we thought it was cool going there because it was like the perfect Jersey Shore Sunday. We would race at Wall Stadium, the Jersey Shore Speedway, and then when we leave there, we'd hit another landmark on the way home, and we'd go to the circus and eat, and the circus drive-thru and eat. The kids like that little bit of atmosphere there. We even got pictures with them on the car, but by the sign and everything like that. It was a nice little old-fashioned Jersey Shore Sunday. You know what I'm saying?
Well, Scott, you remember, well, you know, Bayamonte's Pizza King, and then it became Mugsy's, and then Boston's, and then
Right.
Boston's.
Yeah. Now it's closed. When we were kids, there used to be a go-kart track right there, Josh. I don't know if you're old enough to remember that, but
I don't remember.
Right.
They have the property there because for it, and I know they have the driving range. You know, essentially.
Right where that driving range is. When me and Tim were kids, there used to be a go-kart track there. Tim, that's right on where Hooper and Fisher Boulevard meet. And we used to leave the racetrack and go there and ride go-karts after the races.
Yep.
I wish I was there for that. I mean, it
I
might.
don't understand why that place closed. I like that Boston's Pizza. Me and Nancy used to go there for dinner every once in a while.
They were separating from the chain of Boston's, but keeping the Boston's name. And then I heard Bayamonte was just asking way too much for rent of the
for rent.
Yeah, because he still owns that property and all. I loved the food there. I got to know the bartenders and waitresses and everything really well there. A few have gone over to the Stonefire Grill. Is that Beechwood or Bayville? It used to be High Velocity.
Yeah.
So,
that's Beechwood.
Yeah, so they've gone there now. Some of them.
Isn't that called Fireside Grill or something like that?
Stonefire.
Stonefire, is that what? Yeah, we go there every once in a while too. That's really good in there.
Yeah. No, it's a really nice place. Good food and everything. I do miss Boston's. That was kind of my local place when I was at my parents, and they would have I think it was Thursday nights. They would have the Outcast Cruisers car show. And you know, it's usually the same people. I would actually bring the race car out. Jeff Gravatt stopped by at least once, and you know, I had the factory stock out on display, and people would come over, look at it, ask. I would try to get a TV or something going, and you know, show people videos of, you know, of the factory stock races. Just trying to get some more people to come to the track. I'd let all the kids sit in the car, you know, just something to do. And then as it got dark, I'd go in and have dinner and a few drinks. And you know, plenty of room. They had a nice large parking lot in the back. It worked really well. It's a shame that place is gone. So,
Yeah.
I'd love to see it open again, but yeah, what are you gonna do? So.
Yeah, but we are interested in your guys' tradition on a Saturday when you're going to the racetrack and when you're leaving the racetrack. So if you want to share, tell us your little tradition. Everybody has one. Message my brother, or message us here on Facebook or Instagram or right on YouTube. You can message us. But we'd like to hear your story. You know, it's really cool listening to people and what they do on the way to the track and when they leave the track. You know,
Scott, do you have people that follow you to a place? I mean, like maybe not all the time, but some of the time, like you go somewhere. So because I know we've crossed paths at the Arc and such over the years. But, I mean, I used to have my friend Kevin McCormick. He would go pretty much anywhere that I was going. When we went to Houlihan's, we went to
I mean, there's a group of us. We got Ron Becker, who helps Nancy on the race car, and his wife, and me. You know, I always say, hey, listen, we're going here tonight if you guys want to go after the races. And a lot of time people come. A lot of time Kimmy Ling will meet us out, too. So, yeah, I mean, we always put a text out, say, hey, we're not going to the Arc tonight. We're going to stop at Applebee's if you want to meet us there. Or we are going to the Arc tonight. Let's all meet at the Arc, you know. We send a little feeler out, you know, and see what everybody wants to do. And that all comes down to, first of all, how your night went, if you're in a good mood or a bad mood. And number two, what time it is. You know, sometimes you get out of there and it's so freaking late, you're just like, I'm just going home, you know. Or it could be 100-degree day and you just had enough of being out in the heat and you just want to go home and sit in the air conditioner and take a shower. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So, I mean, there's a lot of factors of what happens after the races. The best nights are I'd say the best nights at racing is when they get over like 9:30, 10 o'clock and everybody comes in the pits after the races. Everybody hangs out in the pits for a half hour and hangs out. And then it's still only like 10:30 and then you go out to dinner somewhere. You know, it's a perfect night of racing, you know?
Well, I think it also matters that Scott's more popular than me, but so yeah,
but I'm born to go out to dinner with because I just sit there and tell you how much sugar you're eating, and you shouldn't.
Well,
eat
now, but I will say,
Josh experienced that because the night I ran into him in the Arc, he ate all my French fries. I went, Josh, go ahead and eat my French fries. You know,
I was saying there's one advantage: you get some free food out of the deal thanks to Scott. So I'm not. It's not like he bought me dinner, but he bought me dinner indirectly.
I wasn't going to eat anyway. Glad you got to eat it.
But yeah, we had fun. I think Craig was playing there that night, so that was.
Yeah, he was. You were there setting up his equipment. Another thing we want to talk about too is we did touch a little bit on landmarks. That was totally off the racing topic, and we talked about the dinosaur in Bayville. And
Tim
Josh
was literally just chiming in on this. An hour ago, not with another link. Scott, I'm gonna let you go.
Oh yeah, the Muffler Man. We were talking about the Muffler Man or whatever. Yeah. But anyway, last 2 weeks ago, I should say, we were talking about the dinosaur in Bayville. It was just a historic landmark me and my brother know from our childhood, and we got a lot of comments on it. A lot of people said it's just a history of it. My brother was right. It was a taxidermist place, Tim, when it started.
Yeah.
Pest control.
One of the links that somebody sent me said, I guess nobody really knows where it came from. But one of the guys said that one of the articles I read said that taxidermy guy bought it from a movie prop company. It was actually in one of them real bad old school movies. It was.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So,
that'd be cool to see it in a movie.
Yeah, it did.
But what happened back in the day, they didn't have social media like we had now. Anybody was looking for a gimmick to catch your eye on the side of the road. So they would buy props like this and big things like this just to put in front of their store. Sometimes it had no connection whatsoever. It was just something to catch your eye.
Well,
make you stop bringing to the store.
Was it Mighty Joe down on 206 near Tabernacle or whatever?
Yeah. Yeah. Had a big gorilla, right?
Yeah, big gorilla, red eyes,
Yeah. But, just to let everybody know, Josh Matthew lives in a copycat town, which is a little south of Bayville. And I guess now with all the hype of having a dinosaur back in Bayville, Josh, your town just buy their own dinosaur now, and they're putting a dinosaur out?
No, that was actually, I think it was Beechwood. Was it the Sand Dollar Diner there or whatever it was?
Oh, okay. So they put a dinosaur up?
That's actually, I think, north.
Yeah, that's a little north of Bayville. Yeah, okay. And that's what happens too. I've been through towns where they got like cows all over the place, and people they like artists paint them, whatever different things, like towns do a lot of crazy.
31 going to Flemington, there's a bunch.
Yeah, on the way to Flemington, there's cows all over the place that are all painted and stuff. So that's how this stuff starts.
Did I share that to your wall on Facebook there? Is that where?
Yeah, you did.
Okay.
You sent, yeah.
Yeah, I just.
I thought that was in your town. I thought that was in Lacey or where town or wherever.
I'm gonna find it real quick. I'll let you keep talking. But yeah, I think that was in front of the diner there. I'll find it. Facebook's been a little tough for people in our area today. I don't know.
Yeah.
There's been something going on.
Bear with us, people. We are going to start talking racing here in a little bit.
Yeah. Beechwood gets its own dinosaur sculpture. I mean, it's not completely finished yet. It looks like an alligator head T-Rex thing. I don't know.
It is kind of an ugly dinosaur.
It's at the Sandcastle Diner. I was right. Okay, yeah. So they're calling it a friend to Bud, the original dinosaur that we were just talking about.
Okay, so Bud's got a friend.
I
never knew Bud had a name, so now we know the dinosaur's name in Bayville is Bud.
Yeah. So.
All right. Well, we're going to segue into the racing now, and another historic landmark in racing. Here we go. Not really racing, but something that racers went to. So it kind of ties in pretty good. Was the Old Shark Lounge Strip Club in Daytona Beach, Daytona, right by the big track. I may or may not have been in there a couple thousand times, but it was a very popular strip club outside the racetrack in Daytona. They sponsored many race cars, not only at the big track. They would also sponsor modifieds over at New Smyrna. They really welcomed the Northeasterners down there during speed weeks. It was a real place, cool place to hang out. Not only because it was a strip club and there was naked girls walking around, but everybody went there. Women would go there. Everybody would go there because it was just a fun place to hang out. And they did like racing trivia and they had prizes. And when you walked into the place, it was all race car pictures all over the place from famous people. Richie Evans, Cale Yarborough, all of them, all the big names been in there and hung out. They would always have a race car parked out front. Unfortunately, it was at a very busy intersection, and with progress, the intersection has to get wider. So the state bought the property to knock it down to make the intersection wider. So we lost a great historic landmark in Daytona. Yeah. So it's a shame. The place was rough, though, man. It was no glory place to go to. It was a little rough walking in and out of there. It was in a rough part of town, but every time I may or may not went in there, I had a great time.
Not only
it was called the Shark Lounge because it had, we were talking about gimmicks and landmarks. Their gimmick was the stage where the girls danced on with the poles and everything was a huge shark tank, and they had sharks swimming in there, And if you were in there at the right time, they had a guy that would come in and feed the sharks and everything. So they would open the stage up, and he would drop stuff in there, and you watch the sharks eat. It was pretty cool.
The people that didn't pay up, or the bouncers would throw the bad guys in.
You know what? When I heard about the shark last, so I thought you walked in there was like jaws swimming around. The sharks were only about, I don't know, 18 inches long. They weren't huge sharks swimming in there, but there were sharks in there, and they were swimming around, and you could feed them and stuff. It was fun. It was just a great place to hang out. It's a shame that it's gone.
Yeah, I was going to say, not only did you lose a landmark, you lost a great supporter in racing.
Yeah.
When we were kids, you couldn't wait to see whose car was sponsored by the Shark Lounge next coming year.
Yeah, that actually. I was gonna say, I can picture people walking in there and going, "Oh my God, all these race cars! Oh my God, girls! Race cars, girls, sharks!"
Yeah, it was a racer's paradise in the middle of the winter when you're down in Florida and it's warm out and you're in a bar with girls and race cars, and even the owner was cool. Like you would hang out with him during the day at the club, and then you would see him at New Smyrna that night. He would actually come by and check on his cars that he was sponsoring. He sponsored Ed Kennedy's ARCA car, so it's like you'd be at the short track at New Smyrna one night watching a car with Shark Lounge on it. Then you'd hit the big track and there'd be an ARCA car out there with Shark Lounge on it. He was a big supporter of racing.
It actually kind of reminds me of a girl I dated many years ago. She worked at a bookstore, and so all the magazines, you'd have your nudie magazines and everything. And when the new issue came out, they were supposed to toss and get rid of all the old ones. Well, her manager was like, "Yeah, if you have a magazine you want it, just take it. We got to throw them out anyway." So she brought me a bag full of nudie magazines, and at the same time I was watching Monster Jam or something. I was like, "Oh, ooh." Yeah. Oh, monster trucks. Oh, wait. Back and forth. I didn't know what to look at. But, yeah.
Another thing, it was kind of weird watching the races, and, everybody's complaining qualifying's boring. Meanwhile, Daniel Suarez and Michael McDowell get on fight on pit road during qualifying, of all things. I guess Suarez wasn't happy with McDowell because he feels he was on it. I think they call it their fast lap or their flash lap or something like that. So what's it called?
Flying lap.
Flying lap. That's it. On his flying lap. Your flying lap is when you're flying, and that's the time you're trying to get. That's going to be your fit. They know that when their tires are at their peak performance and the car's taped off right, and which run's going to be their absolutely fastest run out of the time segment. And he was on his flying lap, and McDowell wasn't. And McDowell just stayed in the groove and didn't give Suarez the lane. So Suarez was mad after, and I guess tried to wreck him after. So McDowell was mad at him because he tried to wreck him. Well, Suarez went down there to talk to Michael McDowell. And Michael, back in the day when I raced, whenever you're going to get in a fight, you leave your helmet on, because if you get punched, it doesn't hurt because they're hitting you in your helmet. Nowadays, it kind of worked against you. I learned something by watching that video clip, because Suarez went down there and Michael McDowell grabbed Suarez by the throat and had him pretty good. Well, Suarez just reached back and grabbed his Hans device, which is new to racing, relatively new to racing. So he had his helmet on to protect his head, but what was a good idea on Suarez's part? He had his Hans device on, so Suarez just grabbed his Hans device and yanked him down by his Hans device, which was, I'm going to remember that, what I'm saying? So, but nowadays, I guess you're supposed to leave your helmet on if you're going to get in a fight, but remember to take your Hans device off, because it's kind of like a horse collar that they can grab onto and toss you down on the ground.
I'm just thinking about that. That could twist your neck. I mean, you could,
that
could be bad.
So Michael McDowell was at a disadvantage with his helmet on this time, and mainly because of the Hans device, and it got broke up pretty quick, and it whatever. But I guess another thing is they had problems at Daytona or something too. So I guess they've been having a little bit of a grudge going on all year, and it just came to
one thing on social media. People were saying, the crew chief guy, whoever yoked him up after he threw the other guy on the ground. We were always brought up, if you come into somebody else's pit stall or whatever, it's game on. You can do whatever you want to that guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and the crew chief was Drew Blickensdorfer, and he really didn't do nothing wrong. He just grabbed Suarez and put him on the hood and held him there until he calmed down. And when he calmed down, he let him up. It's not like he was holding him down and punching the hell out of him.
Restraining somebody versus
he
pummeling.
Exactly. He restrained him.
Yeah, so I think that's one. But I'm just wondering, do you think this is partially, I mean, like, all right, I believe they were both upset. Okay, fine. And you know, shoving match, whatever, body slam, whatever you want to call it. I don't care. Actually, I think Suarez did something with some WWE guy. I didn't watch the promo, but they did like a little, we have a public service announcement thing. Anyway, but do you think this is Suarez trying to make a bit of a name for himself, only because he hasn't really shined?
I honestly think he went down there to talk to him.
Yeah, I definitely think he went down there to talk to him.
And then the other kid lunged at him, and then he.
Yeah.
So you'd say McDowell almost a little bit more at fault versus. I'm just saying, going by that post-race interview with Suarez.
If McDowell didn't grab Suarez by the throat, I think they just would have talked to each other. You know.
Okay.
But I on another hand, I think Suarez, you know, he's a little mad that he got released from Joe Gibbs from last year. Now he's with Stuart Haas, which is another good team. He's got to perform. He's under a lot of pressure. He's not doing what he thought he was going to do. You know, he's under a lot of pressure, and when you know,
I'm not saying that,
a lot of pressure.
Easy
little things like this bother you when you're under that much pressure. You know.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I mean, basically, and there's kind of a general There hasn't been, I guess, proof, but it's almost accepted as proof or as truth rather that Suarez's dad basically bought him that ride or his way in through the whole Aris thing, and that's why Edwards was kicked out and forced to retire, all that stuff. But
Suarez's dad doesn't own Aris. Suarez's dad actually owns a body shop. I don't know what their connection to Aris is, but yeah, because of the Aris sponsorship and the backing of Aris, that's why he's in this ride.
Yeah. So I mean, I think there's certainly something going on, and then if he's not performing, I mean, like, fine, he's probably doing better than I would do, sure, but I don't know. It's kind of in a back and forth.
But I definitely think this is a make or break year for Suarez, and I think the pressure is getting to him a little bit, which it would to anybody. You know what I'm saying? But then again, if you walk into someone's pit to discuss something with them and they grab you by the throat, you better fight back. You know what I'm saying? So whatever. Well, we did talk after, and I guess everything's okay. But whatever.
Well, you talk about the fans reacting and and think who's being a crybaby, stuff like that. There was something I saw come up about everybody rooting for Jeffrey Earnhardt now.
I am. I tell you what, I listened to his podcast. He was on Dale Jr.'s podcast, and if no one's listened to it yet, listen to it. It's a great story. I mean, he's got a great story, and he's doing things his way. And he is using the Earnhardt name a little bit, but he's working very hard to get to where he's at, and he's got a good thing going. I hope it works for him. The only thing that's killing him now is they put Kyle Busch in the car, and he's won 2 in a row. You know what I'm saying? So,
yeah.
I mean, he's got some pressure on him, too. And he's talking about this. He's hoping this K9 sponsorship deal is going to turn into a full cup deal next year. So,
well, a lot of people are complaining that Dale Jr. isn't, helping to fund Jeffrey Earnhardt.
You got to listen to the podcast.
They talk about that.
They explain all that.
Well, but I'm saying from the let's call it uneducated fan perspective, they're like, well, why aren't you helping him and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Meanwhile, they're all complaining about Dylan getting funded and getting everything handed to him by his grandpa.
Yeah.
So.
But if you listen to the Dale Jr. podcast when he interviews Jeffrey Earnhardt, everybody's blaming Dale Jr. for not helping Jeffrey Earnhardt. And Dale Jr. said, I call this guy all the time. I text him all the time. He doesn't text me back. And Jeffrey Earnhardt admits it. He's like, I'm horrible with the social media. I'm horrible with calling people back. Dale Jr.'s like, everybody's in social media saying, I'm not a good family member because I'm not helping Jeffrey. He's like, I've called Jeffrey 1,000,000 times, and he never calls me back. But Jeffrey also explained the reason why he's not racing for Dale Jr. too is because he's a Toyota driver and Dale Jr. is a Chevy guy. So that's where that conflict is. So, I mean, even though people are related and stuff like that, sometimes the business side of it keeps you separated. And he said that Jeffrey said he tried to get some stuff going with Chevy, and he never really did. And Toyota said, well, we'll help you out. And so now he's with Toyota, and he got a sponsorship. He can't take it to a Chevy team. he's got to take it to a Toyota team. So he took it to Joe Gibbs.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I'm going to have to listen to that. And I was just throwing it out there about, people being upset.
And they do hang out. I mean, Dale Jr. even talks about they want fishing at night with Kerry and Jeffrey and him. And, they do hang out. They go fishing in a little boat and, like they hang out, and like they had some good stories, But Jeffrey Erner will be the first one to admit that Dale Jr. has tried to help him. But Jeffrey's had his own stuff going on. He really couldn't take what Dale was offering. And Dale was saying there was times I called him and he would never call me back. So I would find somebody else, Yeah,
I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Yeah.
Anyway, moving forward, I was just going to say now, not the past race weekend, the week before, Harvick, I saw no grip leaving the pits. Looked like maybe tire rubber buildup in the pits in front of his stall, and I mean he was just spinning the tires on his way out.
And sometimes that can be like something as simple as gear ratio, what transmission you're using, what your clutch adjustment, stuff like that. He might have been running a taller gear than maybe some of the other guys. It made it tougher to go in and out of the pit, so he would actually have to spin the tires to not to stall the car out. It could be something that simple too.
I just wasn't sure, because we've watched, it's weird. You hear them talk about waiting for the track to rubber in and get better, but then there can be too much rubber. And then it's its own nightmare. It goes from the opposite ends of the spectrum. I was hoping you might be able to elaborate on that a little bit, Scott.
No, I mean, I've been racing all my life, but I'm only a few races where I actually utilize the pit road and had pit stops. Like I said, I know when I was working with the Truexes, sometimes it would dictate how we got in and off pit road by what gear ratio we had and what transmission we had at the time.
Now, but what about like on the track itself? I mean, wanting it to rubber in and then wanting some of the rubber to tear off. Because, I mean, there's been issues people didn't want either the Legends, the factories, or the four cylinders running. Yeah. Because they say we were
that's funny you say that because, like, all growing up here, we ran the modifieds would race with the street stocks at Wall Stadium. The street stocks were on DOT tires and they were on modified tires. And then I went down south and raced, and we were on like a Goodyear tire, and the late models were on a Hoosier tire, and the late model guys wouldn't race after us. They wanted to race before us because they didn't want to race on our Goodyear rubber. And I never even heard of such. That never even crossed my mind. But here's the crazy thing was we practiced and ran heat races all day long, and now they don't want us to have a 25-lap feature before the race. They're already on our rubber. I never heard terminology until I started racing down south about bad rubber mixing, and now it's creeped its way up this way. People don't want to race on, when tracks have different tires. That's why the tracks all run the same tires. I don't know. I just think it's an excuse. Can it change a little bit? Yeah. I mean, Tim probably hears a little bit of it when they're up at Loudon when they have all the different divisions up there. I've heard a couple guys saying, the track changed once the modifieds laid a lot of rubber down. But you know what? Everybody's got to deal with the same thing. So it's even.
Yeah. I mean, every competitor on the track is going to hit the same thing. I'm hearing a lot of like wind noise. I don't know if it's Tim or.
No, I hear it too.
Huh. All right. Watch, it'll turn out it's Scott's beard or something.
I can shut the fan off. Maybe it's that.
We'll see.
My mic was kind of close. Maybe it was me. I'll pull my mic away a little bit.
That's fine. So. Anyway, I was going to say, one thing I have noticed personally is coming across the stripe in, turn 4, when there's been a lot of rubber buildup, it seems to really stick to that paint stripe, and it actually almost feels like I'm hitting a pothole going through the turn there. You feel a good thump. And I'm just curious why it sticks to the paint so well and not the asphalt, or why is it built up?
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? Really, I mean, it would get so bad. Remember a couple of years ago, it would get so bad they would actually light it on fire and scrape it off.
Yeah. I mean that, or you see Roger taking the tractor with the brush and running it down there, sweeping some of that off, and it's funny how much they have to do to get that off, but at the same time. You watch NASCAR and you get like one small rainstorm and now it's a green track. It washed all the rubber off.
And like I said, that's another excuse, Well, then again, when the track gets wet, I don't think it's really the rain washing the rubber off. I think it's when they put the Titans out there, the Air Titans. Now it's blowing the rubber off the track,
Yeah. That I would.
I mean, racers will find any excuse. Too much rubber, not enough rubber, different type of rubber, whatever, Just go out and race. Everybody's on the same track. Everybody's dealing with the same thing. It's part of the sport. Just go out and deal with it.
Yeah, well, yeah, that debris that's out in the track, it depends on what position you're in, whether or not you see it. Because you either want that yellow or you don't. And
right.
Yeah, I know. Anyway, let's move on from that. In the Xfinity Series, anybody notice Kyle Busch have that loose wheel in the very beginning of the race?
No, I didn't see that.
They did not torque it when it was in the garage. He started the race on a loose wheel.
If I was him, I'd be mad because they're the top of the organization in the sport, and they shouldn't be making mistakes like that. I mean, I even torque my own lugs before I go out on the track. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But hey, things get overlooked sometimes, and sometimes things happen. You know, but that's really uncalled for in that level of racing. You know.
I know he was upset. I think he came back to did he win or?
Yeah, he swept the weekend.
Yeah. No, the previous weekend.
Yeah, he won.
Yeah. He didn't win the Cup race, I believe it was 2 weeks ago.
Right.
That's what. Yeah. So, but that's the thing. He started off with this disadvantage, and he lost a set of tires because of that too.
Oh, that's true too. Yeah.
So they were down a set.
So
of tires.
A simple mistake like that really put him in the hole. You know.
I noticed Haley Deegan was driving the pace car as well, having some fun there because they had just been racing next door, I believe it was.
I tell you, that was a good race. You guys watch that K&N race on the dirt?
That last lap
I
pass?
Did. Yeah.
That was
pretty cool.
That was a late night, though.
Yeah. They got to do something with that. They got to put that race on earlier so the people on the East Coast can watch it. And I know the sprint cars were there too, and the sprint cars raced before them. Maybe next time race the K&N cars first, and then.
But they'll tear up the track, Scott.
Yeah. They'll lay a different rubber down. And you know what? You're right, because we had the same problem at Bridgeport because we raced with the sprint cars down here. And right away, the sprint car guys say, well, we can't race before the 8-cylinder cars because they're too heavy and they rut the track up. So we got to wait all night until they're done racing before we race, you know?
Yeah.
So it probably was something like that. The sprint car guys didn't want the 3,400-pound K&N cars out there before them to rut the track up. But I tell you what, that track was good, man. They ran windshields and everything. They didn't even really get that dirty. It was a good race, man. I liked that race.
Was it more dusty or more muddy?
It was a little dusty, but it wasn't bad.
Okay.
You know, it wasn't bad.
It was good.
Yeah.
I thought she did a good job. I think, is she the real deal? I mean, she's got to prove that yet, but she's definitely got talent. And she's not scared to race, you know?
Yeah.
I'll give her that. I think that she has a better out of the car personality, I think. I'm not sure I trust her yet. Although that move, she kind of shoved her way in there. I'm not sure there was really room for a car when she made that move at first, but she forced it, and I mean, it made it exciting, and that's what the fans want.
You got to remember too, she ran that guy down from 4 seconds.
Yeah, she was faster.
She was faster, but at what point are you? It wasn't a bump and run. She didn't flat out dump him or anything like that. So I mean, it was exciting to watch. I'm just wondering at what point are you pushing it too far? I mean, I know if I did that to Scott, which it'll never happen, which is why I'm bringing it up.
I mean, if it was lap 20, yeah, I'd be mad. But that was the last lap, man. Anything goes. You know what I'm saying?
All right, so I can push it out of the way. I got
it. And the guy retaliated going into 3. He gave her a shot in the back, and she was able to hold on to the car. So it was a good race. The only disappointing thing about that race for me was there was only like 18 or 19 cars. I wish they would have got more cars. You know?
Yeah.
Now
talking about that too. I watched the ARCA race at Five Flags Speedway. That was a good race too, but same thing. Unfortunately, there was only 20 cars. First 10 laps, like 5 of them pull off. You know, they're the money-making cars where these teams will send another car out there to just get a little bit of money. So, I mean, the racing's been great in the K&N and the ARCA racing. We just need more cars. You know, they just need more cars in these divisions. And I think that's one of the reasons why they're kind of doing like a combination thing next year in 2020.
Yeah, I'm just
go ahead, Tim. With the TV coverage might help that, whatever that is, fans' choice.
Yeah.
Honestly,
I actually watched the ARCA race on Matt. I watched the K&N race on Fans' Choice, I think, and I watched the
other on Mav TV.
The ARCA race on Mav TV, man. What a great channel! Mav TV is awesome.
I wish I had it.
But yeah, I mean, Fans' Choice TV, that's great. I mean, Tim's going to a race this weekend at Myrtle Beach, and that's going to be Fans' Choice TV. I can't wait to watch that. You know.
Where are you going to be stopping on your way, Tim? I need to know all the food spots.
Believe it or not, this is the first time in probably 20 years, I'm actually going down in the race car hauler. Me and Scooter are meeting Jason Shepard, the crew chief, on the rest area. He's going to pick us up there. We're going to drive down with him because he had nobody to ride down with him. So I'm not sure what's going to happen on this trip down.
In honor of Myrtle Beach, a lot of people, if you don't know.
Before we get off the cup stuff, was the Ferris wheel there?
I didn't see the Ferris wheel, and I was even looking for it. I don't think it made the trip to Arizona.
If it was at Phoenix, it should have.
I didn't see it at Phoenix.
If it was at Las Vegas, I believe it was.
It was at Las Vegas, I do believe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's not too much of a surprise. I was also going to say, with the new rules thing, Kyle Busch was running. I mean, in Vegas, he wants to run everything because it's hometown and all that. But he gets no points for in the Truck Series because he's.
Yeah, they did away with that a couple of years ago. You can only claim points in one of the top 3 divisions. Of course, he's got to run for points in the Cup.
Yeah.
You know?
Anybody else see there was an air hose that got stuck under a tire, so they had to, after the jack was, they let the jack down, and it landed on the air hose, so then they had to try to get it back up and push the car so they get the air hose out and get the gun back. It was... You
know what? I think it's time to get rid of the air hoses. I know they're trying to keep it traditional pit stops, but they want to make safety. I remember a while ago they tested in the ARCA division. They have an air pack you wear on your back, and you just have an air hose from the bottle on your backpack to your hand. So there's no hose going across. That air hose is dangerous because, like you said, if that guy would have took off with that air hose underneath the tire, it would have shot that gun flying. You know what I'm saying? I think it's time to get rid of the air hoses.
Now. I want to agree, but I see one potential problem with that, and we've seen people, just a bit of loose clothing or whatever, get caught on a spoiler or something like that. And if you have a hose dangling off of you anywhere,
yeah, I think that was one of the things. They don't want the gun attached to the tire changer, to the person, where they can let go of the gun now because it's attached to the bottle behind pit wall. You know,
so
you're 100% right. Josh, I think that was one of the reasons why they're not switching. How about a cordless? Go to a cordless gun.
That I think would be a good idea. They don't weigh all that much, and they work fantastic. And if you want to monitor and make sure everybody gets the same thing, then fine, go for it. The only thing I could possibly think of is somebody having a modified battery pack, because let's face it, these teams would have more than enough money to make something special that would still plug into that gun. And instead of being a 19.2 volt, it's now a 23 volt, and it goes a little bit faster or something like that. I'm sure there would be tricks or ways, but I'm sure that NASCAR could implement something that would prevent them. Or maybe after each stop, they have to verify that the battery that was placed in the gun was actually one issued by NASCAR and things like that. I mean, it could be a bit of a pain in the butt, but I think it's doable, and I think that's probably the way to go, is just make it a cordless impact gun. And I mean, it'll change the sound. I mean, all our lives we've grown up with and to hear it switch will be interesting, but it happens, and I don't know. I think that might be a safer way to go. So I'm all for it, Scott. They just need to figure out how they want to implement it. Actually, a similar thing happened in IndyCar in St. Petersburg. I forget who it was. The air hose, they went to pull it back from the left front tire changer, and the air hose got wrapped around the front wing.
Yeah, exactly. It's another place you can get caught up.
Yeah, and I mean, they have,
I think it's time to get rid of the air hoses. Do something different. Go to a cordless gun or something. I mean, what too? Even, they always want to kind of keep things what people use in their personal life. I tell you, even at my garage, I barely use my air hose and air gun anymore. I use cordless guns out there. You know what I'm saying? I use cordless guns at Wall Stadium. I think it's time to update that and go to cordless guns.
Honestly, you could get sponsors from Craftsman and Milwaukee and all that. The official cordless gun sponsor of NASCAR, as opposed to
exactly. I think it's time to go to a cordless gun,
especially if you want to stay in touch, because that's what people are using at home now. So, yeah, I'd say let's do it.
Especially now with the lithium batteries, man. I got a cordless gun, a Craftsman cordless gun. I barely ever put that thing on charge and it always works. That battery never dies, man. It's like the never ending battery, man.
I agree. Mine's been fantastic. I even have a Sawzall. It's off camera, but it's a Craftsman, cordless Sawzall, and thing kicks butt. So, yeah, I mean, maybe
All right,
not.
so you want to do the modified tour thing now, or you want to wait until we get to the local?
I think we should do the local for that real quick because just a couple other things I was going to hit. We shared the video on the Facebook page. So good luck finding it right now if you're in our area. The Australian V8 supercars. They had an unsafe release in the pits, and whoever came out just did not let off of the guy. If he had backed off just a little bit, the other car could have saved it and just pitted and been over with. He kept his foot in the gas, got him turned sideways. The entire pit lane was blocked. Crews had to scramble out of the way, so the cars were trying to go into somebody else's pit to get around. It was just an absolute disaster, but it made for an exciting few moments there. Something else, Robert Wickens made it to St. Petersburg. He did some meet and greets there.
That's great. That's awesome. I see he's been walking a little bit, man. He's come a long way.
Yeah. I mean, he definitely. Yeah, I mean, at St. Petersburg, he was in a wheelchair and stuff like that just because, I mean, he can kind of walk. It's still a struggle. He had to actually walk up the steps onto the private jet.
I saw that.
Because there was no handicap access for it. Which, I mean, it was just another incredible moment because he said he wants to be the best spinal cord injury recovery in history, and he's intending on standing at his wedding. Which is, I think, in fall.
And he's a great candidate. Not that old of a guy. He was in great shape before the accident, so he's got a lot of things in his favor. I mean, medicine's a lot better now. Technology with the doctors is a lot better now. He's a young guy. He was physical fit to begin with. I mean, he's got a great chance of really recovering well from this. I mean, will he ever be 100%? Probably not, but he'll be a lot better off than he was if he was an older guy.
Yeah.
And this happened 20 years ago. You know what I'm saying? When things weren't as advanced,
I'll say this. I would not want to arm wrestle him right now. I'm sure hands down.
And him just being alive is a miracle. Now, I'm so glad I'm just happy that we're just talking about him trying to walk again. I mean, he's alive. He's beating this. I mean, when you left the racetrack at Pocono that day when that happened, man, it looked grim. You know what I'm saying? And he's come a long way, and things are going well for him. I'm really glad to hear that.
Yeah, I actually, not going to lie, for a while, and because of where we were sitting there wasn't much over the PA that you could even hear. I thought I witnessed someone's death. I mean, it was bad. And for him to be where he's at, and for the team to still, because I mean, you could see a lot of places, like you think of like a typical job, let's say you work for Walmart and something like that happened. I mean, your seat would still be warm, and they'd have somebody else in there. Whereas Arrow, Peterson Schmidt. Schmidt-Peterson, has been welcoming him, and he's still involved. He was in the pit box and on the headset and involved with everything that was going on. And so it was a good thing. And then I think they were at their hotel, and Hinchcliffe was helping him walk around the pool a bit. It was just, I mean, it's inspiring. It's still sad. It shows you how dangerous and how serious this is, but it's also inspiring. So I keep following his story, and I hope more people follow as well. And
even if you're not like a super Indycar fan, it's still a great story to follow. I'm following it, and I'm really happy that things are going as good as they are and as quick as they are. So good for him. We'll be keeping an eye on that. Yeah. So Indycar streaming deal. What did you want to talk about there, Josh?
So basically, this year, if you're in the U.S., this is not really a problem. IndyCar will show old races and stuff like that on Facebook or Twitter. They have live streams. It's really cool. And this year, you can watch every IndyCar race on NBC Sports, including the Indy 500, which I believe has been on ABC forever.
That's right. I think it's the first year they're not going to be on ABC.
Yeah. So that's a big deal. They have Lee Diffrey, Paul Tracy, Jan Beekes, and a good team of people that are working this. But there's a problem outside of the U.S. where not all the races are being shown, and that's upsetting sponsors. That's upsetting just for the sport, and IndyCar has been looking at a few different companies that are involved with streaming, basically trying to get away from a television deal, and just so hey, go to our website and you'll be able to stream any IndyCar race live, and that way they can get their product out to the world. And I think that at least they're looking forward. Now, that's probably one of the most advanced things I've heard come out of a series. And now you have NTT Data as the primary sponsor of the series, and with Verizon leaving, and they're a data company, and they're doing all this high tech stuff. I saw that they brought the little number pods back on the
I saw that.
cars.
I heard they improved it and it's going to work better and everything like that.
I'm
but
excited.
Before we go any further, we always talk about in NASCAR, because we're more into NASCAR than IndyCar racing, how they bought Dale Jr. and Jeff Burt and Jeff Gordon and all these drivers. Well, Indy bought in Paul Tracy, and I think he's a great fit for the broadcast booth. He was a very controversial race car driver. He wears his heart on his sleeve, and he says it the way it is, and he's brought that over to broadcast, and I enjoy listening to him on the broadcast.
I think he's calmed down enough, or he can hold it together enough without being too
reeled him in enough where he's professional, but he's still Paul Tracy. You know what I'm saying? So he's still. So there's times you kind of cringe because you're wondering what direction he's going to go in, and he goes pretty far, but he does leave it before he gets too out of hand. You know what I'm saying?
I liked Dario Franchitti was involved for quite some time.
Yeah, Dario was good too.
He's been doing a lot of Formula E stuff, which is good.
Formula E side now.
Anyway, now Rosenquist, this was his debut race in IndyCar. He had incredible pit stops. I mean, he was leading for a while too, and I'm just wondering, do you think because he's driving the NTT Data car, do you think they maybe threw a few extra bucks to help that happen, or I don't?
Well, no, I mean, but I'm sure it's a full funded deal, and with a full funded deal, you get better engineers and better crew chiefs and better cars and better equipment. It just puts you in a better position.
Yeah. So, but it was really cool to see that and see him do well. Patricio O'Ward is in, I believe, for the full season as well. I mean, another name that kind of came out of nowhere, almost like Wickens did for me. I was like,
Josh, excuse me for asking because I didn't pay any attention to this race, but who won the race?
Joseph Newgarden.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
How'd my buddy Marco Andretti do? Did he do anything?
He got in the way of a few guys.
All right, so he's off. He started this season the way he ended last season.
No, I think he was top 5, top 10 somewhere. He was doing okay, but he did. He was like on the verge of a lap down and got in the way. Will Power was. There was a good race between Rosenquist and Will Power a couple times coming out of the pits. I mean, where they nearly collided. Will Power had stayed out, and as Rosenquist was coming out, I mean, it was right on the line. I mean, they were close. It was all right. One thing I thought was interesting was St. Petersburg. There's some excitement and all this going on, and it's the start of the season. There were only 2 sections of grandstands that I saw around the entire.
In their defense, though, I know when you go to races like this, and even if you go to Watkins Glen, you really don't sit down. You kind of roam around. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's so much going on. You kind of roam around. You'll go sit in this one. You'll go sit in this corner for a little while and watch a little bit, and you get sick of watching that corner. You'll wander across and you'll maybe stop and get something to eat and wander across and go sit in another corner and watch. But yeah, they got to have sections where these people can sit. But some of these temporary road courses, people watch from buildings and houses and boats and top of trucks. I'm sure they know what they need when it comes to grandstands and what they don't need. You know what I'm saying?
I was a little surprised that it was that few, I guess. Really what it comes down to. I thought you could have fit, because like they have that whole front stretch, the runway where they probably could have put up. I mean, I'm not saying that they needed to put up 20. You had the room for it. I just thought a few people might want to see them coming down, but it was more just like one section in turn 1 and then turn 12 or something. I was just like, is IndyCar doing that poorly? I mean, I know it's not Formula One. I know it's not NASCAR, and I know NASCAR's is right sizing. We've talked about it before, but I just thought there'd be a little bit more. I mean, they were okay. I mean, when you go to Pocono, I know not all the grandstands are getting used. That's clear. But at least you have all this room available to you.
Right.
So that's really all. So from there, I was thinking we could move to our local.
I actually have an.
Go ahead.
Tim's got a comment on Indy. He falls asleep on us when we're talking about Indy.
Well, I like the red tires.
I actually sent the link in the untold story of that Randy Lanier guy that came out.
Tim, I tell you what, you sent that to us in private, and I really got hooked onto that Randy Lanier story. That was a couple years old, though. That's not recent.
I know that. But I listened to that podcast that you sent me. That was really interesting. Yeah.
I even took it a step further. I listened to the Randy Lanier podcast, and then he talks about two other guys he was partners with that also got in trouble. So I listened to their podcast. They also got interviewed on that. Well, the one brother did. Don Willington did. He owns an airport in Florida. He did 18 months in jail over that. They just got him on money laundering. His brother, Bill Willington, he went away for 15 years. He got out. And now, I did a Google search on him. In October 2018, he got sentenced to another 18 months in jail. So he's back in jail for tax fraud. So these guys got some stories,
It was great. Like that one story. I guess he bought that one racetrack. Or I forget what.
He bought Road Atlanta, and that's why you got to listen to both of them, because he bought Road Atlanta, and one of the questions they asked him on that was, did you buy Road Atlanta so you had a place to land your airplane?
Yeah, the back straightaway.
Your drugs. And he kind of shied away. He's like, no, I never heard that, blah, blah, and he moved on. But then when you listen to the Don Willington, which was his partner at that Blue Thunder Racing, and they were also drug smugglers, they said absolutely they used to land the airplanes on the back straightaway.
Well, they said they had the wire where the wires went across. They had the globes on the wire, and he said they used to, the two guys interviewing, he shied away from it about burying the money right at the racetrack.
Yeah, but he did admit that he did bury money in Florida in PVC pipes in the ground, and when the heat was on, he had them move to Virginia and reburied the money in Virginia. He said, but the feds got everything. I know a lot of people don't know what we're talking about now, but we're talking about Randy Lanier. He owned back in the 80s. I remember as a kid listening to this story. Randy Lanier was a popular IMSA and GT Trans Am driver who also raced in Indy, and he was financing his racing with a race team called Blue Thunder Racing. It was all financed with money he made smuggling marijuana, and he was smuggling huge amounts of marijuana, and he had so much money to spend and blow on racing. He was actually beating the factory teams. He was beating Porsche and all them and Ferrari and all them at their own game. And, of course, like anything else, everything comes to an end. He got caught, and he did 27 years in prison. He actually got a life sentence because that's when Ronald Reagan had the war on drugs. And they had this thing called the kingpin. If you were the kingpin and got caught, it was a life sentence. So he did 27 years of a life sentence, and he just got out a couple of years ago, and he's telling his story. And it's a great story. He's a great guy to listen to. And the one thing he really wanted to stress, he was doing it for the money. He said it was marijuana. He never did any hard drugs like cocaine or anything like that. And there was never any violence. He never shot anybody, never killed anybody, nothing like that. That goes with the drug stuff. So in his eyes, it was marijuana, and no one ever got hurt, and he didn't deserve a life sentence. But the reason why he was even in for 27 years is because he was trying to escape all the time. He was trying to escape jail all the time. So now he's in jail and he's trying to escape. So now he's getting in trouble because he's trying to escape. And, he said one time he did 2 years in the hole, So,
wow.
I mean, it was tough on him. His wife ended up getting arrested after he got arrested for money laundering. So she got put away. He felt bad about that. It's a great story. It was on Dinners with Racers podcast. We haven't talked about those guys in a while, but go back and listen to the Randy Lanier
they're better
one.
than us. Just go listen to them.
Yeah, and they are better than us. I'll admit that. And the Randy Lanier one's awesome. And then you listen to some of the names he talks about. There's Don Willington. He did the episode before Randy Lanier, and he tells his story too. And they were all tied together with Blue Thunder Racing. So
he said it was funny. He said that one year, I guess there was two hot chassis people. It's like anything else. He bought the one. He paid cash for the car. And he didn't like that car, so he went to the other frame manufacturer or whatever car manufacturer, and they're like, "Well, you just bought one of those other cars." He's like, "Here you go," handed him like a sack full of $100 bills. And they're like, "Okay."
That Lola chassis for a Bear chassis was $400,000. He bought two of them just to shut the guy up because he wanted to sell it to him because he had the other cars. He raced the March. They were called Marches, and because he was a March driver and always had March chassis, he wanted to buy a Lola, and the Lola wanted to sell it to him. So they're like, "Well, we want $400,000." He's like, "I'll take two." It's pretty
cash.
He said he was buying. He said he had so much money from the drug smuggling that he was buying houses just to store money in. He didn't have enough room to put money at places, so he was just buying houses to literally fill them with money, And he kept saying every run was going to be his last run. Every run was going to be his last run. He just never stopped. And Tim, I don't know if you noticed, but one of his associates in Arizona, who also owned a racetrack out in Arizona, he got caught and he was arrested. So the brother told Randy, he said, "Listen, the heat's on. My brother just got arrested. They're watching you. Knock it off." You know what I'm saying? They're watching you. They're watching. So he got word that they were watching him. So he told his lawyer, he's like, "Listen, the FBI's on me. They just arrested so-and-so in Arizona. Go meet with them. Pay them off, see what you can do. I got one shipment I can't stop right now." Because he said every shipment would take 10 days and it already launched. Like they were already on the way to get it. And it took 10 days to go get it and bring it back and distribute it all over the United States.
Yeah, and this is pre-cell phone where you just can't call.
Yeah, he couldn't cancel the order. It had to go through. So he even told the FBI, he said, "Listen, I got a run doing now. When this one's over, it'll be the last one. I won't do it no more. But you got to see this one through, because I can't cancel it. It would cause a big mess. Here's $10 million. Leave me alone, blah, blah, blah." So he paid the FBI off, right? And the FBI is like, "Okay, we'll take you $10 million. No big deal." He said the next day he's sitting home.
The
freaking helicopter lands in his yard. He's like, "What the hell are these guys doing here to arrest me? I paid him off." He paid off the wrong agency. It wasn't the FBI after him. It was the DEA. So he got arrested anyway, and everything got all screwed up and everything like that. It's a great story. But Tim, do you see what he's doing now? He's out. He's out of jail now, and he's back racing a little bit.
Yeah.
Josh, you'll like this. He's running the American Enduro Racing Series.
Hey, he's like awesome. Yep.
It's like it's the same thing as Chump Car and the 24-hour Lemons. That's what he's doing with guys now.
He even mentioned Chump Car in that.
Yeah, he mentioned Chump Car. It's a great story. He's a great guy.
Blue Thunder?
Well, no. And they talked about that too.
He got that because the name was on the truck when he got the truck.
He needed a hauler, and he bought someone's fancy hauler, and it already said Blue Thunder on it, so he just left Blue Thunder on it and named his racing Blue Thunder. It's just a great story.
I thought Blue Thunder was that Airwolf knockoff helicopter thing.
Well, Blue Thunder was a movie, and it did come out at the same time, and the guys did ask him, "Did you take it because of the movie?" He's like, everybody thought that, but he's like, "No, I bought the truck off a sports car guy, and it said Blue Thunder on it already, and we just left it on the truck."
And one question they did ask him, and you always hear ghost stories about it. They asked him if he used his race car hauler to haul the marijuana, and he said never did.
Never. He said he never tried to mix the two. And another quick funny story about it. You guys got to listen to it. I know a lot of people that listen right now don't know anything about this Randy Lanier guy. But another funny story, he said everybody knew he was funding it himself, and they didn't know how he was doing it, So he tried to make lies up that he had big sponsors. He would make up like fake sponsors, and he would pay for like hospitality tents and everything at the racetrack to make it look like he had a sponsor,
Right.
And he saw one day he was at a sponsor tent. He made some name up like Sun Valley Oil Company or something like that, and he's having the whole thing going on, making it look like he's got a sponsor and he's not paying for his racing on his own. And there was two guys in suits there, and he was afraid they were FBI guys, So he kept telling his wife, "Keep an eye on those guys with the suits on." And every time they would come over, she would block. She would talk to the guys in suits and not let them get to Randy. And Randy would walk away and go talk to somebody else. So anyway, they have their big breakfast before the race. He goes out and runs the Indycar race. After the Indycar race is over, he goes back to his motorhome, to his wife is, and she's like, oh my God, those two guys with the suits came and sat with me on pit road while the race was going on. He's like, we're out of here. He started like packing the motorhome up, and he thought it was the FBI. She hands him his business card. They gave me the business card. He takes the business card out of her hands. It was two guys from Ford Motor Company. They wanted to make him a Ford factory driver, but because he was acting so weird, they didn't do it because he wouldn't talk to him. He would run away from him because he thought they were the FBI, So it was just a funny story where two lives collided, and it went wrong for him because, he could have had a factory Ford ride, but he thought they were FBI agents trying to arrest him and not people from Ford trying to hire him.
Oh, jeez.
Josh, the guy's got some awesome stories. He also, I put two and two together because across the street from Road Atlanta was a track called Lanier Speedway, and it was a dirt track back in the day. Now it's an asphalt track, and it might even be back to dirt by now.
How many wins do you have there?
I had none, but I always wondered why it was called Lanier Speedway. And in that conversation, he said, "Oh, not only did I own Road Atlanta, I owned the track across the street, Lanier. That was his last name." So it's a pretty amazing story.
Does it say that in that book that you have?
I don't know.
Speedway book?
Find it.
Josh, you have to put the link that I sent up on the
Which one? The Muffler Men?
No, the one about what we're talking about now.
But Josh, he even goes into further. When he came on, he tried to escape, and he was on the run for 10 months, and they sent like the Navy after him over some like island or something like that, and then he had a dinghy like attached to his yacht, and he put the dinghy in the water. He tried to take off, and he had a duffel bag with like 50 grand on it. And he got to the dock, and then he was running through the woods, and they were shooting at him. Like it's a great story.
They could literally make a movie out of that,
Oh, yeah.
I think they should.
I mean, it was really good. And, but then there was another guy. It was John Paul Jr. and Sr. were two other guys that raced Indy cars they talked about briefly. I looked those guys up. That John Paul Sr. guy, that guy was crazy. He was into violence. His wife disappeared. His girlfriend disappeared. And now recently he's disappeared. Like they haven't seen him since 2012. He's been on the run. They don't know if he's got killed since. But and it was funny. One thing that was funny was, they were real big in racing IMSA, International Motorsports Sports Car Association or whatever, IMSA. And back then, because everybody that was running and winning, they were all into the drug smuggling thing. They called it International Marijuana Smuggling Association because they were all drug smugglers. So it's a real good story. I remember being a kid when all that fell apart and stuff. I was only about 13 years old, but I remember it being in all the racing papers and stuff like that. Yeah, and here we are 27 years later, and he's finally out of jail because of it. I tell you what, though, he's a great guy, and I love listening to stories. I just have a bad feeling he's going to end up back in jail because he still seems crazy as hell, doesn't he, Tim?
Yeah. It's called The Untold Story of Randy Lanier, Indy 500 star and drug smuggler.
Yeah.
I'll have to put that up on. I'll see if I can put that up on the Facebook page tonight.
And there's another thing called Jalopnik. Jalopnik, it's like Japolnik, and they show him racing those enduro cars on the road courses and stuff like that, and that's got like a weird title too. It's like weed to Indy or something like that, like it's just a cool story,
I'll share that once I find it back in the messages there. Anyway, so I was gonna bring up that Haley, not Haley Deegan, our missing host's fiance, saved the day.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Apparently, Eric Brennan made a surprise trip for his mother, and she got all choked up, like really choked up, and
she started choking.
Yeah, and Haley had to give her the Heimlich. So yeah, I made a.
Yeah, that happened to me when I was a kid. One time, we were at Pocono at the Race of Champions, and I went there with the Connor family, Jerry Connor, Shannon Connor. We were staying at a hotel nearby, and a lot of hotels have the ice machine at the end of the hallway. When we were kids, we like filled our cups up with ice, and we got back into the elevator, and Shannon Connor started choking on an ice cube, and we were like 13. I just punched him as hard as I could in the back, and he coughed the ice cube up. The bad thing was I hit him so hard he had a huge bruise on the back for the rest of the weekend, But that's a scary situation. I was glad to hear she was able to step in and do something.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm still thinking about you punching.
It worked. I hit him right on the top, like kind of like where your neck meets your back. You hit him right there on the top of the back, and he coughed it right up.
So not a donkey punch. Gotcha. Okay. All right. So moving on from that, the ATQMRA. I know I mentioned this, but I didn't have any info on it at the time because I suck at prepping. The ATQMRA had a new handicap rule that they're debuting this year, and I have the article up here. Basically, because some guys don't run the full schedule, whether it be traveling or this or that. Now, anyone, cars will only be required to make 3 starts in order to establish a handicap. In the past, you were only eligible.
It doesn't have to be 3 in a row. It can just be 3.
Yes.
Okay.
Before, in the past, it says they were only eligible for a handicap if you competed in 3 of the previous 5 events.
Okay.
And then somebody would miss a race, or you know how it is. You miss a week and you get re.
I always think when you get to that level and you're a traveling series, there should be no handicap. It should go by that day's qualifying. I think handicap racing is just for the Saturday night short track stuff.
Right.
I consider them a touring series, and I think with a touring series, they shouldn't even have a handicap system. It should be like an invert or a redraw or something like that. They shouldn't even be dealing with handicap systems.
Well, I think
I'm glad at least.
I know that they've been pretty competitive, especially on the flat track at Wall, and I think this is just one of those things where you have some of the newer guys coming in and just trying to let them, because I think that honestly you do learn a lot when I know I did when I was given the handicap and would start up towards the front, and I mean, fine, I may not have stayed up there for all that long, but getting past and learning driving in traffic like that, especially when it's a total cluster F, in the beginning of a race, you learn a lot of discipline and where to be and how to handle yourself in that kind of traffic, and it's a good learning curve, and it helped me tremendously. So if they're having new people come in to this because let's say that they want to run TQs, they don't want to run a factory stock or something like that. It's one way to learn.
Right.
So I mean, I know
hope
what you're
it works
saying.
out. I'm sure they put a lot of thought into it, and they have the reasons why they're doing it. I'm sure it's a good move, and I hope it all works out with them.
Well, they did mention that in the past, a lot of teams, who didn't have the handicap or lost their handicap, they would, whether they were good or bad, they would. Let's say you had even a slow team, but they were running every week. So they would have the handicap and be up front. These other guys would be stuck starting way in the back and behind all these other guys that had a handicap. So they're just trying to allow you to keep your handicap more than because everybody should run at least 3 races. I think they're just allowing you to keep the handicap more than adding a handicap. Is really what it comes down to. So we're going to see how it pans out. I'm looking forward to see what happens. Something else you guys had. Well, actually, I'm going to go to this first. Tim, you shared something about Southern Oklahoma Speedway, I believe, with they're adding a car wash and showers.
Yeah, that was for last week's show. I really don't remember what it was about now.
I mean, that's a good idea. If they charge, I remember when we were kids going to the dirt races at Flemington, there was Shammy Shine Car Wash right down the street. We would leave the racetrack, and there'd be a line of race cars waiting to power wash off. And not only that, but people with their street cars, because your car would get covered in dust in the parking lot.
Yeah.
If a racetrack has the room and the ability to add a car wash on their property and keep that money in-house and make money, I think that's a great idea. Plus, if you have showers, you charge a couple of dollars to take a shower. It's another way to generate money, because when you leave a dirt track, Tim, remember we used to leave Flemington after they used to have a special night there. It was 4 20-lap features, and that was a big draw. Mm-hmm. But, man, you could literally write your name on your face on how much dirt was on your face by the end of that night. So by having showers in there, that's not a bad idea either. If they can make a couple bucks or make it, it's a nice thing for the fans, I think that's a great idea.
On the side note, that Shammy Shine Car Wash is still in existence.
Yeah.
By the racetrack. It's about the only thing left up there that has something to do with the track.
Well, I mean, especially I think for people that might be camping, if you had a long weekend or a big
oh,
event,
yeah.
that's a huge thing for if somebody wants to camp out. Because, I mean, I think about the people that if you camp out without a camper at, let's say, Turkey Derby, I mean, it's usually frigid. But, I mean, how nice would a shower be? A good warm shower after that, or get you going. Now, Scott, there's been some stuff being talked about lately with fire suits for our upcoming season.
Yeah, my brother said something about that, and I don't think it's anything new because usually when they post something new in our rules, it's written in red. I didn't pay much attention to it because my fire suit I wear better than what we're supposed to have anyway. Right. So I know I'm within code of that. And then I noticed on Tim's involved heavily in the Sunday series. They announced on their Facebook page that there is no new fire suit rule.
Apparently, from what I got out of it, there is a new rule for the big track. I guess you can't wear a single layer fire suit anymore,
and you shouldn't be.
Right,
and you shouldn't. And apparently, a lot of people. I don't know when this rule came out or whatever, but apparently, a lot of people didn't know about it. And we, as far as the Sunday series go, we're not like, for lack of, I really don't know what I'm talking about, but lack of a better term, we're not under the state rules like you guys are. We run under the Go WKA rules.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they have to only have a single layer fire suit. So, which Alexis,
trust me, if you're out there with one of those cotton treated $80 single layer fire suits, trust me, you want to update your gear. That it's not cutting it because you can wash those 5 or 6 times in the washing machine and they're not fireproof anymore. If they did change the rule, I agree with it. You should be wearing something better than that.
And Mike,
just remember
my
the
kids
past.
have.
Sorry, Tim. I was going to say in the past they usually just said it had to be SFI whatever 5 point whatever.
Well, it's still SFI, but I think they up the ratings now that it's like 33.2/5 rating or something like that. They up the rating, so you got to check your rating on your fire suit to make sure.
I will be double checking that. I need to go up to Mike's Performance to get some new Nomex because my the elastic got so.
Yeah.
It dries out and whatever. So I have like 2 zip ties actually bundling it up on the side. So I've been trying to get my money's worth out of that.
All right, before we end the show, because we're getting towards the end of it here, I want to touch base on what Tim's got going on this weekend. The Modified Tour is heading to Myrtle Beach, and they got a great entry list so far, Tim. They're up to like 34 cars on the entry list, so that's great to see. It seems like a lot of the teams like going to that Myrtle Beach race. In honor of Myrtle Beach, I got a little show and tell here. They're not far from south of the border, so I'm drinking it out of my, let's see here, get this in there, out of my south of the border mug, bought right from south of the border. I got 2 of these mugs. If you guys do pass the south of the border or you're close to the south of the border, go into Myrtle Beach, stop and get these mugs, man. They keep your drinks cold and they keep them hot,
That's
great
awesome.
collectors. They make them blue, green, and orange. I have the blue one, the green one. Next time I go down there, I'll get the orange one.
Grilled peanuts.
But don't buy anything to eat at the south of the border.
South of the border, like that falls into our Roadside America segment. Like that place must have been really cool back in the 50s or the 60s, but in this day and age, it's not really that.
I mean, it's a cool place to stop and get a sticker, a mug, or a T-shirt, and a package good, but don't. They got a little restaurant there. Don't get the hot dogs. Don't get the top.
Last year we didn't go to Florida this year, but last year we went, and we always with the girls wanted to stop there, so we finally stopped there, and they have this one thing where you go in and you can see the live alligators. So we went in there, and like they have like 25% of the alligators are real, and then like the other 75 they're like fake, like they don't move. And the girls were like, "Daddy, I think that one's dead. It's not moving." I'm like, okay. And it's just fake. You go back to next year, it's in the same exact spot it was the last time you were there.
Now, what was this Harvick getting together for a modified bonus?
As far as you done with the tour race already?
Well, no. Is this related to that, or what? What was that going into?
No, Scott started with Myrtle Beach, and I got talking about south of the border.
Okay, I know we have it on there. I just wasn't sure which mod bonus it was applying to. So.
We want to touch base on the Kevin Harvick thing. He's tied in with Stafford Motor Speedway. He does a sponsorship thing, and Ryan Priest, Stafford Motor Speedway, all the people at Stafford, they're trying to get Kevin Harvick to come there and race a modified. Ryan Priest has one ready for him. I was listening to Harvick on NASCAR Satellite Radio today, and he wants to go there and race, but he's definitely shying away from the modified, and he wants to run a street stock. And Tim was saying a lot of these Cup guys have in their contracts they can't run an open wheel, so that might be why he's shying away from it. But he did mention that he wants to race a street stock there and he wants to make it happen. And he did say that he wants to race a street stock there because he did race a street stock one time at Wall Stadium. So it was pretty cool to hear him talking about street stocks at Wall Stadium, So hopefully, all you people up at Stafford, he did renew his sponsorship deal up there. He paid for like 13th place finish and stuff like that in honor of Teddy Christopher and stuff like that. So he is putting money back in the Stafford Motor Speedway this year, and he does plan on racing the street stock up there this year.
Scott, do you know roughly when he ran that at Wall?
It was one of those deals when it was all the Cup guys were there. They didn't race with the regular guys. They ran their own car. They had like a match race. No, I don't. But that's when like Kerry Earnhardt and all them were there, and Michael Waltrip and Steve Park and all them.
Oh, okay. Oh, well, Steve.
Elliott was there.
Yeah, it was a NASCAR night. It wasn't. He didn't show up out of the blue and race someone's factory stock.
No. I wasn't even thinking that. Well, I think they've done stuff like that in New Egypt too.
Yeah.
So yeah,
but it was cool hearing him saying that he raced the street stock at Wall Stadium and he enjoyed it. So it was cool hearing Wall Stadium's name.
I mentioned like Kyle Petty raced there, and he raced for a modified circuit. Yeah, and Kenny Schrader drove for Harry Reid, if I remember right.
Yeah, that's when they showed up and really raced. Like Kyle Petty didn't get paid to be there. He showed up and raced the modified for Tommy Daniels. He did well too. He qualified. That's when it was tough to qualify that race, and I think he finished around 10th, which was a good run because there was a lot of good cars in that race.
And it was funny, we were talking about where people go out after Wall Stadium. Where do they go to eat? And Kyle Petty was doing one of his TV shows on TV, and it was like when Martin was hot last year, and they were talking about Martin in New Jersey. And Kyle Petty goes, I ran Wall Stadium, Turkey Derby. He goes, and we went to the Widow McShane after, which that place is no longer there anymore. But it was cool. He said where he went after the race too.
Yeah, and that was a big hangout for the Tomatoes. The Tomatoes grew up right over there in the Tinton Falls area, right by the Widow McShane. And the reason Kyle Petty was there racing was because that's when he was racing for Pontiac, and Jamie's brother Greg Tomato was the head of Pontiac Motorsports, so he's the one that put that deal together. So I'm sure he went out with the Tomato brothers and they took him to the Widow McShane after the races.
Josh, cool. You would have liked that place. It was like almost like a speakeasy. He was in the basement of like
it was in the basement. You had to like walk around back and go through like the basement door to get down into it, And on another local racing note, I remember in the wintertime, Jamie Tomato used to sell Christmas trees in front of the Widow McShane in the parking lot. He used to load up his enclosed trailer. He used to run up to upstate New York and buy Christmas trees and load them up in his race car trailer and bring them back down here. And he used to sell Christmas trees right in the parking lot at the Widow McShane.
Side note to that, did you see King Kong Bundy passed away?
Yeah, King Kong Bundy passed away.
Jamie put that thing on when he was King Kong Bundy's quote-unquote manager.
Yeah, had a wrestling match.
He came out with King Kong Bundy.
Oh, jeez. Okay. All right. Well, anything else we got, guys?
I have one.
Go ahead.
This it's important to Scott because he races there. Bridgeport was sold.
Yes. Yeah, we almost let that slip through the cracks there.
Yeah, but it's a good thing, though. It got sold to a racing guy.
Yeah,
the guy's part owners in the Kutztown Speedway, the action track over in Kutztown, and that track's really doing well. So he's looking to get bigger and better. I mean, he bought Bridgeport, but he doesn't take over to 2020. So
that's good. It's got future.
I think it's going to be a good thing that this guy took over. So that's good.
Now, Scott, I heard that you guys didn't get that many races on your schedule for the Friday Night Enduros this year.
Nah, we only had 5 last year, and this year they cut us back to 3, and one's on a Saturday night. So I mean, I'm going to go to the ones when I can, and I'm still supporting it, but I'm more focused with my dirt stuff at Grandview and Big Diamond this year.
Okay, well, I'm looking forward to see how you do there.
Well, that's what I won last year. I won all. They had 5 races at Big Diamond last year, and I won all 5, so I'm pretty good up there. And Grandview, I went 3 times, and I won once. In the one race that I won, I won by 7 laps. So Yeah, we're pretty good at Grandview too. Grandview is awesome. Grandview is like Wall Stadium, but dirt. And
Yeah.
Big Diamond's awesome because it's bigger than Grandview and it's wide and sweeping. And it's a lot of fun to race. I enjoy those racetracks.
I got to get back. I want to do some enduros again. I really miss that. It's just. Yeah, it's. I really wish Wall would bring
Your
back
car
enduros.
would be perfect. Your car would be perfect at Grandview and Big Diamond. You'd run really well up there. Yeah.
With similar setup to what I have in it, then.
You would have to, put a limited slip posi in the rear.
Okay.
You could go with an open rear, but you'd be better off putting a limited slip posi in. Yeah, but it'd take. If I was you, I'd take the sway bar off and just go.
The front sway bar.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know, 'cause I mean, I know the car came stock with a rear sway bar. Not that anybody runs them, but.
Yeah, I mean, Joe Maggio messed around with those rear sway bars. He said it made the car too tight. He ended up taking them off. I've never ran them. I've never seen nobody run them, so I just take them off.
Yeah. Oh, I got one laying around if you ever need it. So.
I have one too. I tried selling it on eBay. Not eBay. Yeah, eBay, and I had no bites on it. So.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's see.
Well, Tim, good luck down at Myrtle Beach.
Yeah. Have a safe trip there. Let us know. Let us know how the boiled peanuts go.
No boiled peanuts. But they do have fried bologna sandwiches there, so I'm definitely going to get one of them.
Just to let everybody know that Tim spots for Eric Goodale. So if you're watching the race on Fans Choice TV, pull
That's
for
who you're
the red
rooting for.
58. Yeah, pull for the red 58 car.
Did you ever confirm if Blake was going to run? Because it said on the entry plate.
Yeah, his name wasn't listed on. The only way they're going racing is Blake's driving the car. I don't know what the miscommunication was. I do have a junk car to pick up at Barney's. I will be there tomorrow. I will ask, but by then
because a lot of people on social media were.
I'm sure that's just an oversight. I can't see Dick Barney going anywhere without his son. I mean, the only reason he's racing now is to race with his grandson. That's why he stopped racing with everybody else. I will ask tomorrow. I do have to go there and get a junk car tomorrow. Yeah, so Tim will be spotted for the 58 car. Another side note is cool is Jimmy Blewett's going down there. Jimmy Blewett's going down there to race at Myrtle Beach. And not only is he racing Myrtle Beach on Saturday, he's going to leave from Myrtle Beach and go to Caraway and run with the Southern Modified Racing Tours, which used to be the old Smart Tour. He's going to go to Caraway, so he's doing a double dip. He's driving for the Bartuccios at Myrtle Beach, but they're also bringing Jimmy's grandfather's number 76, and the Bartuccio race team is going to pit it for him at Caraway. So, local guy, a friend of the show here. We wish Jimmy the best of luck down there. And Blake, Blake Barney. We also, Blake's a hometown guy going down there and racing, so we wish him well too. Blake ran good down there last year too, so we'll see how he makes out. This the track, Josh. What's in the asphalt down there?
Seashells.
Seashells, and it chews up tires. So it's not the most exciting race because a lot of times they got to save their tires. So it won't get exciting until about 20 laps to go, and we'll see who saved their tires the most and can win the race.
How far
it's
away?
More like a chess match.
Yeah.
You got to sit and wait. How far?
And Jamie Tomino's racing this race too. Jamie's not racing the whole tour anymore, and he's going to put Chase Dowling in his car with a few races. I heard they were going to Caraway too, or Chase is driving it out South Boston or something like that. But Jamie's actually driving it himself at Myrtle Beach, so we wish Jamie well too.
How far away are those two tracks from each other?
Well, Myrtle Beach is in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and Caraway's in North Carolina. So it's probably 2 or 3 hours, but it's on the way back. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm hoping a couple other teams do it too, but we'll have to wait and see if a couple other teams might do the same thing. I mean, Ed Harvey's team might run both. So yeah, we'll keep our eye and see who runs the double. And Caraway was supposed to be last weekend, and Jimmy was all ready to go, but they had weather in the forecast, so they canceled and they rescheduled it for Sunday. So I hope it works out for them.
Yeah, so do I. All right.
Have you looked at the weather? Have you looked at the weather down there?
Weather's supposed to be fine. It's 60 degrees and 3% chance of rain or something like that.
I think
this is the second or third year in a row that Myrtle Beach is having this race. So shout out to Myrtle Beach. I mean, it's expensive to have a modified tour race come to your track, and modified tour is basically New England area. For them to have a race down south before things start happening up here because of the weather.
We have two.
Yeah, you have two. You have Myrtle Beach, and then they're going to South Boston. So yeah. I think it's great that Myrtle Beach is bringing the NASCAR Modified Tour back to their racetrack down there.
And then I was one of the Dale Jr. episodes I was listening to. That's where he started racing.
Yeah. Well, he had to go there because he lived in North Carolina, and nobody cut him any slack in North Carolina. He kind of had to go where no one really didn't know him, but they kind of left him alone. You know, that's why they went to Myrtle Beach.
He was saying his dad never gave him any credit and said there was this one guy that he couldn't beat. And then one time Dale Jr. won his first race, and he couldn't wait till he put the trophy on top of the race cars. So when Dale
the walkway where his dad, he said he waited all morning for his dad to show up and see the trophy.
And his dad walked in and goes, "Oh, I guess so-and-so wasn't there last night."
Yeah. And they asked Dale Jr., well, was that guy there? He's like, the other guy was racing somewhere else, so he was right. So he's like, I went from being the big, cool feature winner to feel real small again because my dad called me out on my BS, and he knew that the guy that was real good wasn't there, and that's the reason I won, you know.
Gotta love it.
This is getting to be an exciting time on social media too, because you go on there, people's cars are starting to get painted. Like racing season's locally is going to be, it's starting now, you know.
The only bad thing about that is when we were kids, Tim, we couldn't wait for opening night because we would go to the track. We couldn't wait to see all the shiny new race cars.
Yeah, the practice.
Now you're seeing it before you go to the racetrack because everybody's posting pictures on social media. You know?
Yeah, but there's still nothing like watching them under the lights with that paint, the light glinting off the paint and everything. So
I always explain to people it's like the first day of school. Everybody's in there with their brand new cars and their brand new haircuts, and then after a couple of weeks of school, everybody's back to wearing rags and long hair again. So it's like the first day of school, opening season, everybody's cars look brand new. Get your pictures because a few weeks in, they're all going to be beat to hell again.
With that said, we got to shout out to Timmy Stephan. What's it, Surfside Collision? It's called.
Yeah, Surfside Collision.
That guy, he's painting cars before work, after work,
morning work. I dropped Nancy's off there today. He said he was there at 5:30 in the morning painting Don Fadarusso's hood for his race car and stuff like that.
I mean, if you want to support a guy that supports local racing in New Jersey, take your car there. You know, your street car if you need auto body work, because there ain't nobody doing more work right now than him.
Yeah, I agree. Oh boy. Actually, I'd love to get it over there. I need to get my frame kind of tweaked, I think, among other things. So
you want to get your frame retweaked. You already tweaked it. Now he's going to straighten it back
he needs
up.
to untweak it. Yeah.
Untweak it. Yeah, you want to untweak it. It's already tweaked. You did the tweaking. He's going to do the untweaking.
I had help tweaking it.
Yeah, but thanks to Timmy. I mean, he painted my car already, and it looks beautiful. Nancy's car's over there now. He said I'll have it done by Monday. He does great work. He's just a great guy. He just loves racing. He just loves it. Yeah. He loves going to the races and seeing his name on everybody's race cars. You know,
how many weeks to the first practice?
We actually practice March 30th, so a couple weeks away.
Yeah, you're talking like 2 weeks.
Yeah, so I got a busy weekend that weekend. March 30th, I'll be at Wall practicing with the car. March 31st is my first Enduro race up at Big Diamond, so that's going to be a busy weekend for me.
Oh, geez, spring is coming way too fast.
It really is. I saw the groundhog. I've been living here 15 years, and there's been a groundhog living under my shed in the backyard, or family of groundhogs or whatever. And I know spring is, because I forget about them all winter. I forget about the groundhog, you know. And I know spring is close when I see that groundhog hanging out by my shed. And this morning I looked out in the backyard, and there was a groundhog sitting by the steps. So I'm like, all right, I'm racing season's close. The groundhog's out from underneath the shed. My son Thomas, when he was a kid, he used to call it woodchuck? A badger. Scott, there's a badger in the backyard. There's a badger in the backyard. So we call it the badger. I'm like, I saw the badger today.
Oh boy. All right.
All right. So Tim, you're gonna bring a trophy home from us this weekend from the Myrtle Beach. What are your chances down there?
I know we got just as good a chance as anybody else. We'll see.
Tire management is
running the Spafco or the Troyer car. Or?
I believe we are back to full Troyer cars at the moment. We're definitely bringing the Troyer car to where we're going this weekend. Yes. So
well, we wish you luck down there, and we want to thank everybody for listening in. We're going to try to do it again Tuesday. This way Tim can tell us what happened at Myrtle Beach. Have a safe trip down there, Tim. That's probably about a 12 or 13-hour ride. Have a safe trip down there.
Yeah, just be careful.
Dealing with the scoot. Yeah. Won't fall through the bleachers or anything like that. You know, be careful where you walk when you go to these short tracks.
Well, I hear you.
So we'll wrap everything up with what have we learned today. I'll start with Tim.
I never knew the Shannon Collar was choking on an ice cube.
Yeah, it was at the Holiday. It was at the Holiday Inn. It's right off the exit where you get off the exit for the Northeast Extension. You put you on 80 right by the racetrack. There was a Holiday, and it's something else now. It might even be closed now, but there was a Holiday Inn there right there. He was choking on an ice cube, and I had to save him. That was during the Race of Champions.
Scott?
Oh, what have I learned?
Yeah.
I learned that there's a lot of money in smuggling marijuana to fund racing back. And I also learned too, if you're going to pay off a law enforcement agency to leave you alone, make sure you pay off the right one. There's a lot of different law enforcement. So he gave $10 million to the FBI while the DEA was the one that had the case against him. So that didn't work out for him.
That's a fair point. Let's see. Today I learned that Eric kills birds with stones.
Two birds at once.
I think we're up to 4 birds at the end of that. I learned that Scott is more popular than me. I learned that Scott enjoys a good strip club. I learned that the strip club was not a glory hole.
That strip club is whatever you want it to be. $5 went a long way in that strip club, let me tell you that much.
I learned that Scott is willing to fight dirty with a Hans device. I learned that Scott punches guys that get choked up. And I learned that Tim thinks I live in a basement.
No, I think you like the speakeasy type stuff.
Yeah. I like a good abandoned building.
One thing I want to do, we got to congratulate Eric Rudolph for winning the last race in the championship for the indoor series, because he's come on the show before. So
I tell you what, that Syracuse race looked like it was a success too, man. It looked like there was a good crowd there. It looked packed. It looked like a pretty cool setup. So glad to see that they had a good show up there. I think it's definitely they're going to do it every year now. It was good to see Eric Rudolph. He won the race and the championship, Tim.
Yes,
good for Eric.
Yeah, congratulations. That's impressive. I just wish I got to go to AC this year and all that, but yeah, that was a whole nother mess. But yeah, I think that's going to about wrap it up for this week's episode. We're, like Scott said, we'll come back Tuesday hopefully, and maybe Eric Brennan will join us. Maybe he's dead in a hole somewhere. Who knows? And we're going to get a good update from Tim on what went down, and
maybe I'll see Sam there.
Yeah, I think Sam said he was gonna head out that way, or try to.
But if you can't catch the race live at Myrtle Beach, check out Fans Choice TV. That's Saturday night, right, Tim, or Saturday during the day?
I believe that's a day race.
Yeah.
Well, evening race. I think it'll still be daylight.
So just remember that the modified tour race from Myrtle Beach on Saturdays on Fans Choice TV. Please check it out.
I can tell you if you want to wait 1 second.
But if you're in the area, don't watch it on the computer. Definitely go and watch it.
Yeah, go in person.
Just for shits and giggles, Nancy's off this weekend. It's the one weekend they take a break during tax season. So she looked up to see if there was flights to Myrtle Beach out of New Jersey, and there is, but they're all sold out. So I think a lot of people in this area are going there.
They get a good crowd there.
Yeah, because there is an airport. You can fly right from Trenton right to Myrtle Beach, and you're only like 10 minutes from the racetrack, and a lot of people do that. A lot of people take flights down there. So she just looked real quick to see how much the flights were, and they were all sold out. So I think there is a lot of people in our area going down there.
Your cousins will be there.
Yeah, well, they live down there now.
Yeah, they live down there. Hold on, I got it here. It's a 150-lap race, and it's supposed to start at 5:30.
Okay, perfect.
Yes.
All right, guys, that wraps it up. I'll see you guys next Tuesday. Go to Wall, go to Myrtle Beach, go to fanschoicetv.com.
Yeah, go to Wall for practice.